First gland is your pituitary gland, or also known as your hypophysis. It was called the master gland or the master endocrine gland because it secretes several hormones that control other endocrine glands. It is a P-shaped structure that lies in the hypophyseal fossa of the sella turcica of your sphenoid bone. It attaches to the hypothalamus by a stalk called your infundibulum. So the main function would be mainly for growth, development, metabolism, and homeostasis. The pituitary gland has two anatomically and functionally separate portions. You have your anterior pituitary or the anterior lobe, and the posterior pituitary or the posterior lobe. Here you have your hypothalamus, and this would be your infundibulum. You can see the proximity between your hypothalamus and your pituitary gland. This relationship is like a concert performance. So the conductor, your pituitary gland, tells the various sections of the orchestra, in this case the other endocrine glands, when and how to play the music. However, the conductor gets the information from the music sheet, so in this case your hypothalamus. First is your anterior pituitary gland, also known as your adenohypophysis. It originated from your pharyngeal epithelium, and it secretes hormones that regulate a wide range of bodily activities from your growth to your reproduction. Release of anterior pituitary hormones is stimulated by releasing hormones and is suppressed by inhibiting hormones. For example, the growth of bones. Your hypothalamus will release its hormone. One example would be your growth hormone releasing hormone. It will go directly to your anterior pituitary gland to release the growth hormone. Your growth hormone is responsible for cell reproduction and for cell metabolism. Okay, so your growth hormone will go directly to your bones, stimulating bone growth. The anterior pituitary lobe produces 7 hormones. The first one would be your human growth hormone. This hormone stimulates cell metabolism in most tissues of the body, causing cell to divide and increase in size. That is why it has something to do with the growth of bones and muscles in the body. It also increases protein synthesis and the breakdown of fats and carbohydrates. So the secretion of your growth hormone is controlled by your hypothalamus. And the peak secretion of this hormone is during periods of sleep, if you have enough exercise, you have good nutrition. Genetics play a big role in your growth since you can acquire your parents' height or body structure, and also your sex hormones during puberty. If a young person suffers from too little growth hormone as a result of abnormal development of the pituitary gland, a condition called your pituitary dwarfism results. So basically, a person remains small although body proportions are normal. On the other hand, too much growth hormone during childhood results in gigantism. Excess secretion of growth hormone after childhood when the bone has stopped growing results in acromegaly. So the bones widen especially in the face, the feet, and on the hands. There would be thickening of the ears, the nose, and the vertebra or kyphosis, or your hunched back. So he is a famous example of a person with acromegaly. He is said to be the inspiration of the character of Shrek. The thyroid stimulating hormone stimulates the thyroid gland to produce its hormone. The rate of this hormone secretion is regulated by your hypothalamus, which produces this hormone called your thyrotropin releasing hormone, in which it stimulates the anterior pituitary lobe to produce your thyroid stimulating hormone. Let me simplify. So here, this is your hypothalamus, this is your anterior pituitary gland, and this is your thyroid gland. When you see the words releasing hormone or inhibiting hormones, meaning gin-release na siya ni hypothalamus. In this case, your thyroid, your thyrotropin releasing hormone. Si anterior pituitary gland, iya gina-release nga hormone is your thyroid stimulating hormone. Okay, so ara sa iya nga thyroid stimulating hormone. Okay, wala siya ga-release, okay, gina-stimulate lang. Okay? Ang gina-stimulate niya is your thyroid gland. Okay? Your thyroid gland siya lang ang maka-release ng mga thyroid hormones to be discussed later on, your T3 and your T4. The follicle stimulating hormone, so it only stimulates the development of the follicles in the ovaries. Women contains many follicles in the ovaries, and each month, only some of them will begin to mature. But only one will ovulate and will become essentially an egg. It also stimulates the production of your estrogen and progesterone, which are your female sex hormones. And lastly, it will stimulate the development of the breast. In males, it stimulates the production of your sperm cells in the seminiferous tubules of your testes. The luteinizing hormone stimulates ovulation. Basically, your luteinizing hormone will trigger ovulation of the most mature follicle in the ovary. It also stimulates the production of the female sex hormone, your progesterone, in which it is essential for implantation and maintaining pregnancy. In males, it stimulates the synthesis of your testosterone in the testes to maintain sperm cell protection. So your testosterone is important in maintaining the male secondary sex characteristics or the masculinity effect. Next, you have your lactogenic hormone or your prolactin. The main function is to stimulate the milk production in the mammary glands following delivery in a pregnant female. It also maintains progesterone levels following ovulation and during pregnancy in women. So the progesterone is very important during menstrual cycle and during pregnancy, so that it will prevent the rejection of the developing embryo or fetus. For the pathology, so if there's increased prolactin levels in males, it can cause erectile dysfunction or difficulty having an erection. It will also cause a decrease in male sex hormones as well as development of gynecomastia, or what we know as your man boobs. In females, if there is low progesterone levels, there would be problems in the endometrial lining or the lining of the uterus, so it will not shed, leading to absence of menstruation, or the medical term is here your amenorrhea. Your adrenocorticotropic hormone, so it stimulates the adrenal cortex to secrete the hormone cortisol. So it is regulated by your corticotropin releasing hormone produced by the hypothalamus. Okay, so here, from your hypothalamus, in response to stress, your hypothalamus would release your corticotropin releasing hormone, okay, and will stimulate your anterior pituitary gland. Your anterior pituitary gland will secrete your adrenocorticotropic hormone that will stimulate your adrenal gland, okay, specifically your adrenal cortex. It will then release the hormone cortisol. Your cortisol has a glucose sparing effect, in which your cortisol will stimulate your liver. So your liver will increase the glycogen storage inside, therefore increasing the glucose molecules. In response, it will also increase the insulin resistance. Due to this process, there will be increased glucose molecules inside the liver, so it will be shunted into the bloodstream. So there would be more glucose molecules in the blood. Due to the insulin resistance, there would be inability of the glucose to be taken up by the other cells. Therefore, there is a glucose sparing effect, in which it will lead to hyperglycemia. Last, it helps reduce inflammation. Due to the stress response system of the body, it will release cortisol, but your cortisol will decrease the immune system. So your cortisol will suppress the immune system, but it will help reduce the inflammation. It will help decrease the pain, the swelling, but there will be increased risk for new infections. So in short, your cortisol will suppress your immune system. Last would be your melanocyte stimulating hormone. So your MSH will increase the production of melanin in melanocytes of the skin. causing deepening pigmentation or darkening of the skin. As you can see here, the UV rays will stimulate your melanocytes in your epidermis, and then it will release melanin that will cause the dark pigmentation of the skin. So this would be all of the hormones of the anterior pituitary gland, as well as the releasing and the inhibiting hormones by your hypothalamus. Here you have the summary of the principal actions of the 7 anterior pituitary hormones. So the first would be your human growth hormone, also known as your somatotropin. So it is mainly used to promote growth of body cells, especially those in your bones and muscles. Next is your thyroid stimulating hormone, also known as your thyrotropin. So it is used to stimulate your thyroid gland to release the thyroid hormones. Next is your follicle stimulating hormone. So in females, it initiates the development of your egg cells or your oocytes. It also induces the release of your estrogens. In males, it stimulates sperm production. Next, you have your luteinizing hormone. So in females, it is used to stimulate ovulation and the release of your progesterone. In males, it stimulates the production of your testosterone. Your prolactin is mainly for milk production. Next, your adrenocorticotropic hormone, or also known as your corticotropin, it is used to stimulate your adrenal cortex to release your cortisol. And lastly, your melanocyte stimulating hormone, it can cause skin darkening or skin pigmentation.